Okay, why would meditation not be good for high IQ people? This is from Choppy Balboba. Choppy Balboba. I suppose the reason is that it often can increase thinking. So often, this isn't all the time, but often with high intelligent people, is they have become very mind focused. Unless they had parents at a very young age that taught them to keep going into their body, they become very mind focused. And they learn at a very early age that they can get lots of rewards from focusing on the mind, and they can have advantages over their social and environmental situations through using their intelligence. So then as they get older, a lot of focus goes on to thinking. So a lot of focus goes on to thinking for everyone, but for them it's most probably more so. Then more than likely, because they've got high intelligence and maybe higher intelligence than their parents and their caregivers, they begin to think, oh, I don't need to listen to them, I can rely on myself more. And then through relying on themselves more, they put more energy into thinking, into the thinking mind. And then what often begins to happen is there becomes a split. And this is a physiological action that happens where they begin to split off their thinking mind from the rest of their body. So therefore, their thoughts dominate everything. And they actually tell themselves a story about how they feel than actually feel how they feel, which to me is mind-boggling because my feelings are so strong that I can't override it with a story. I used to when I was younger, but I don't think I ever did it that badly. But I remember my teacher pointing it out to me one time when we were having a heated debate about something, and he kept telling me I was getting angry, and I kept denying I was getting angry. And then he was like, go into your body, go into your body. And when I went into my body, I was like, oh yeah, I am getting angry. But my story, because it was convenient for me, kept telling me I'm not getting angry. And so that's what I thought was happening. So with very high intelligence people, and this doesn't happen all the time, it happens in a lot of cases, is there is such a focus on the mind, they physiologically cut off their feelings in their body. So often when I work with high IQ people or people that are more in their mind, they don't actually know how they feel. And this is very abstract to them, the idea of feeling things in the body. And they often can't. So they know how to do things through intellect. Whereas for me, I do things partly the intellect informs me, partly the feeling, and then partly an intuition, or what you could call the God factor, like this coming from nothing factor. And then there is the feelings that arise which also come from nothing, and the thoughts which also come from nothing. So if I wanted to say, it could be partly from flow, the feelings, which you could say are flow as well, or it's complex, and the thought. Whereas high IQ people have no sense often of flow or of their feelings in their body. It's just about the narrative they're telling themselves. And even if I say this to a high IQ person, so if you're a high IQ person listening, you won't even really know what I'm talking about because you don't really know that there is other people that feel feelings in their body. What this does to a high IQ person is it often makes them cross their boundaries continuously. So what they can do is they can override what they feel. They can override emotions very well, but then this often makes them sick and unbalanced because they are overriding their flow, their limits with the intellect. And they often will do this to partners and people in their environment, so they will have conflict out in the world because they won't understand other people's emotions, so they'll try to override people's emotions with their intellect, which is stressful to outside people as well. So when high IQ people then begin to meditate, they begin to see it as a mental exercise. Whereas in some way it is like you're training your mind again, but another way it isn't. And then the mind will just dominate again. So then what's actually better for high IQ people is to do something physical, which actually pulls them down into the sensation and to the feelings of the body. Sometimes high IQ people can get OCD thinking or controlling behaviors, and also when you sit and meditate, that can come out and be exacerbated. So again, it's better to do something physical like yoga, tai chi, exercise, to pull you down into the body. Yeah, I hope that answers that question. So when I say all of this, what it does is it constructs in your mind the idea of a high IQ person. So there is actually somebody inside that body that has high IQ. But when I say it all, just please take into account that I'm not actually talking about somebody. These are processes which are happening in the body, and then there is an identification with that. Often when somebody is really in the mind, they have heightened seeking because their body is actually very uncomfortable. So when it's heightened seeking, there is more of attachment to the body. The seeking increases the attachment. The seeking makes you seek more in time for resolution. And then it pulls in and creates this person. So it exacerbates the person. But there isn't actually somebody in there. So even if I'm saying this about you, then there might, if you're high IQ, you might be feeling shame because it's about you. But that's not you. That's a happening. That's a bodily process that's been trained. It's genetic, social conditioning, environmental conditioning, and then it's creating the appearance. The body is like having these responses in every moment, creating the appearance of a character, but that isn't who you are. Who you are is this no thing, which is all things, this mystery. That is who you are. You're not that character, you're not the person with high IQ. That's a bodily condition. And then an entity is created out of me. That is me. And then there is a searching in that me world for freedom because you've lost that sense of freedom of who you are. Tak, tak, tak. Okay, let's go back to Skype.